Greetings, ESL 106 students. I am Christy McGee. I'm the instructor for this class, and I want to give you some information just here at the start of the class about how we're going to be studying vocabulary. This is really an important component of the class. You're going to have vocabulary words to learn every week, and I want to make sure you understand some of the questions that I'm going to be asking you and some of the ways that we'll be focusing on vocabulary. So take a look. First question I have for you is, how many words do you think you know? If you think about vocabulary in English, all the years or months you've been studying English, how many words do you think you already know? Some things I want you to think about is that native speaker teenagers, so high school students right now know about 20,000 words in English. Non-native speaker students like you all usually come to college with 3,000 to 5,000 words. A lot of words, but not nearly as many as native speakers. We find that as we look at college texts, and I just have these numbers too, that 75% of the college textbooks you're reading have these 2,000 high frequency words. If you learn the high frequency words, and many of these words you already know, you can deal with most of the college textbooks. 10% of the college textbooks are using academic vocabulary, vocabulary that's really specific to the college experience. And those are the words, we've reduced that down to 570 academic vocabulary words. Those are the words we're going to be focusing on in this class. We want to add these words to the words you already know to help you as you deal with college textbooks. So here, let's keep talking. My next question to you is, what do you need to know? If you're learning vocabulary in this class, what should you know in order to say, yes, I know that word? You might think about some things that you would find in the dictionary. For example, of course, you want to know the meaning of the word, but you also need to know the part of speech, right? Is it a verb? Is it a noun? Is it an adjective? The spelling might be important, especially in writing. The pronunciation might be important, especially in speaking. And the usage. We're going to talk more about usage, but how does this word get used in a sentence? What are the words that often come around it? When you think about vocabulary, one of the things we're going to be talking about is pronunciation and stress. This is important. It's part of really how people understand you when you're using a word. Maybe you're not saying every letter the way that they need to hear it, but if your stress is correct, they will understand the word you're meaning. I want you just to think about these words to understand how important stress is. For example, if I'm talking about a person who takes pictures, I would say photographer. But if I'm talking about the thing that this person takes, I would say photograph. The stress is totally different, right? And it changes the way the word sounds. We're going to find out in this course that there's a noun called insight. She has so many good insights. But that word, if the stress shifts, will be a verb. Incite. The crowd incited the violence that happened next. Stress matters. Stress can make the word mean something different. Stress helps a person understand you. You can see this teacher talking to the kids. She says, first of all, and the kids hear, festival, right? I know that many of you have had the experience of using a word that's a perfectly good English word, but not being understood. And sometimes the key to being understood is using the correct stress. So we're going to be looking at that as you look at some new vocabulary words. Here, let's just do a practice together. Look at these 5 words. And the first question I have for you, just in pronunciation, is how many syllables does each of these words have? How many parts can I divide each word into? Those are the syllables. Take a minute, write down how many you would give to each of these words. You might want to pause here if you want to have some time in your writing your answers in your notebook. So here's my answer. The first word, love, is 1 syllable. The next word is 2 syllables, pleasure. The next word, 3, container. The next word, 4, exploration. And the next one, 5, exploratory. So you can see here that each of these words gets divided and has different numbers of syllables depending on the word. But the next question is, which syllable in the word gets the stress? Go ahead and circle or write down the stress that you think each word should get. Maybe you can copy these words into your notebook and circle the part of the word where you would give it stress. I'm going to write down stress this way. So the first word, love, is easy. There's only 1 syllable. There's only 1 stress. But the next word has 2 syllables, and I want to show that it's the first syllable that gets the stress. And I'm going to write it this way, with a large circle and a small circle. Pleasure. The next word has 3 syllables, and I want to show that the middle syllable gets the stress. And I'm going to write it this way, with the large circle in the middle. Container. The fourth word is a word that ends in shun. And we're going to see that it's the second to last syllable whenever I have a word that ends in shun that gets the stress. So I'm going to put the large circle in the second to last syllable. The last one, the second syllable gets the stress, exploratory. And that's how I'm going to write it to show where the stress is. So let me show you how this looks if I were to give you a quiz. If I were to ask you about these 3 words and ask you where is the stress for each of these words, you would have to choose A, B, or C for each of these words. So take a minute, look at these words. You might want to pause and choose A, B, or C for each one. Which is the answer? Which one gives the syllable stress for each of these words? So if you chose B for each of these words, you were right. The first word, guidelines, has the first syllable getting the stress, and B is the answer. There's only 2 syllables, guidelines. B matches the stress for guidelines. The second word is transmission. And again, B matches the stress in that word, transmission. It's the middle syllable that gets the stress. The third word, innovation, has 4 syllables. And as we talked about before, it's the second to last syllable. Not the last, but the second to last syllable that's going to get the stress when there's a shun ending. So again, B was the right answer. Guys, this is the way that I will be asking you about the pronunciation of words. I'll be asking you, how many syllables are in that word? Which syllable gets the stress? You're thinking, well, how do I know, right? How will I find the syllable stress in each of the vocabulary words for this class? And there are two ways that you can find the syllable stress in these vocabulary words. The first way is I'm going to give you a vocabulary chart each week, and next to each word, I'll give you the part of speech as well as the syllable and the stress. You'll see the number of syllables and which syllable gets the stress for each word in the chart. In addition to those charts, you can also use the dictionary. If you look up a word like exploratory, the online dictionary will tell you how to pronounce it. Exploratory here is trying to show you that that second syllable gets the stress, right? You could also listen to the word here, and you'll hear where the stress ends up. So you will be learning new vocabulary each week in this class, about 10 new words. I'll give you a chart with the information you need. You'll see examples in your textbook of sentences that use these vocabulary words. And then I'll give you some practice on a website called Quizlet. And it looks like this. You'll get a definition. This is the definition, a group formed from parts that are connected together. And you'll get 4 words to choose from. You'll have to click on the word that it matches. I should click here on network. And the website will interact with you and help you to practice each of these words and definitions. In addition, I will be giving you a quiz each week. You'll take a quiz on Blackboard, and you'll be using these words. You'll be answering multiple choice questions, and you'll be writing sentences that help you show the meaning of the word and how to use it.